Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Atanas Stoyanov from the Phiren Amenca International Network, and I'm the project coordinator of the Youth Against Antigypsyism project. Thank you for coming today to the presentation of the research findings of the research entitled Roma Participation in Mainstream Youth Structures. And we have our guests and we are hoping a nice and lively discussion with you and our guests who are going to present. Now I'm giving the floor to the director, Marietta Herford.
Thank you so much and welcome everyone. As Atanas mentioned, my name is Marietta Herford. If you don't know me, I'm a member of the Phiren Amenca team. And also my colleagues are here from the Budapest office, Anna Darozzi, Marina Chikos, and our volunteer, Sarah. So we are also very happy to welcome you in this important discussion. And maybe just a few words about Phiren Amenca if you don't know or if you didn't hear or follow us previously. So Phiren Amenca is a network of volunteers and young Roma and non-Roma people and organizations. And our main aim is to challenge anti-Gypsyism through volunteering, through education, and activism. We are organizing regular seminars, trainings, and educational programs on human rights and human rights education, tackling anti-Gypsyism, but also how to empower and capacitate young Roma people and Roma youth organizations especially. And in the past years, we also became quite active on advocacy and especially on European advocacy and lobby work. And I think already 3 years ago, we became a member of the European Youth Forum. We have been the first Roma Youth Network as a member of the European Youth Forum, which is, we believe, an important milestone in Roma youth work. But what we saw previously, and Simona Torotskoi, our great researcher, will explain, we have done a bigger research in the past few years called Roma Youth Voices. And throughout that process, it became quite obvious that somehow young Roma are not participating in mainstream youth structures. And and we wanted to find out the reasons of why, what are the barriers, the challenges, and also to show good practices, because we have a wide membership in throughout Europe, and also to see like how can we motivate both sides, like young Roma to become members of mainstream youth structures, but also to support mainstream youth organizations, let's say, how to be more inclusive towards minorities or young Roma or LGBT people. And what we found out is basically the willingness is there, the openness is there, but somehow these roads are not crossing each other. And for us as Phiren Amenca, this is the most important, because in what we believe is bringing Roma and non-Roma young people, organizations, and structures together, because this is how we believe to combat anti-Gypsyism. And Simona will explain you what, especially she found out throughout this research of what is the situation. So how do we see, or where we are as young Roma in those structures? And if we are not there, why we are not there, and how can we increase this participation? So we are inviting you to this discussion, which is introduction of the research is the first step. But then, based on the findings, the work should be also on our side, and to see how we increase Roma youth participation on all levels. And we believe that because while you are here, the topic is important for you. So we are also happy to share, to hear and to see your opinions and experiences. And if this platform doesn't provide the whole time or the for it, then we are also happy to take it forward and to create platforms to those discussions. So thank you for being here. Thank you for the colleagues and the researcher to implementing and to being ready with this research. And we are looking forward to hear the results. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marietta. Indeed, we started this research in the beginning of 2023, together with our partners from the European Youth Forum. I see Maria is here. Thank you for making it, Maria. It's my pleasure to present you Dr. Simona Torotskoi. Simona is a graduate from the Central European University, as many of us. She's been studying in the Netherlands and working in many countries, and she's also done the previous research, which was about Roma Youth Voices, Challenges and Perspectives. So Simona, now the floor is yours to tell us about the findings of this research on Roma Youth participation in mainstream youth structures.
Thank you very much, Nesko. Can you see my presentation or also my notes?
Yes.
We can also see your notes.
See also the notes.
Okay, let me try again.
Yep, now it's okay. If you can just enter into the yes, thank you.
Is it good still? Okay. So thank you very much for having me and for involving me in this research. I think it's a great opportunity to conduct more research on the situation of Roma youth. And I'm very happy to say that in the last few years, there is much more interest in researching the situation of Roma youth, not only from Phiren Amenca, but also other stakeholders. So just a bit about the context of this research. We all know that Roma youth structures are, or youth structures in general are important partners to be consulted on youth-related issues and policies, both at the European level, but also by national authorities. And they also have the legitimate authority to formulate opinions and recommendations on youth issues. The recent European Union initiatives, but not only on youth, have left out Roma youth as key beneficiaries, but also as key target groups. And the most recent report from the Ergo network shows this as well. They have been researching on the extent to which Roma youth are beneficiaries of different sorts of EU youth-related initiatives. So such situations have shown that there is a high importance of having Roma youth representative in key consultation mechanism as a way to ensure that their needs and their voices are addressed and acknowledged. So in this context, we engaged in a research process, as Marietta was saying. And today, I'm just going to tell you a bit more about the research context, like what drove this research, because it's not only a project, but many other things that were happening in the same time, or at least in the last few years. Then I'm going to introduce you the research question and the methodology we have used. And then I'm going to present more in depth the key findings, focusing on different groups of research subjects we have involved. And then I will present some of the recommendations. We had an extensive list of recommendations, but I will just focus on some of the key recommendations. And at the end, I will be very happy to hear from your side any questions or comments that you have about this research. So first, a bit more about the context. As I said, in the last few years, many Roma youth advocates, activists, but also other intergovernmental organizations such as the European Commission, the Council of Europe, the OSCE contact point for Roma and Sinti issues, but also other structures have worked to develop frameworks and strategies targeting Roma youth, or have invested significantly in creating a level playing field for addressing the needs of Roma youth. For example, as Marita was mentioning, in 2020, we, with Phiren Amenca, we published a report on Roma youth participation in Europe, challenges, needs, and opportunities. And this research filled an important gap about the public and political participation of Roma youth in the European Union. And maybe what was one of the striking findings at that time was that out of the 290 respondents to our online survey, only 18% of Roma youth stated that they are part of a youth council, a student union, or any other mainstream youth-related structure. So that was something striking for us. Another important study was conducted by the Council of Europe, Roma youth participation and inclusion in standards, policies, and programs in Europe. And this also showed that mainstream youth institutions do not target Roma youth in their work, and policies and policymakers still have to work to address the continuous and systematically the needs of Roma youth in Europe. So this was one part of the context. Another important part was the European, was happening in the context of the European Youth Forum, an organization that brings more than 100 youth organizations and international organizations and national youth councils. And as Marita was saying, there's little representation of Roma youth organizations in these structures, but I will try to show also today some positive examples, some of the few examples that exist. And the purpose is more to encourage, not to point out just the negative or the challenges, but also to promote some positive practices, to inspire other stakeholders. So the European Youth Forum Strategic Plan 2020-2023 included priorities such as the diversity and inclusion of marginalized and vulnerable communities. And also very important in the context of the European Youth Forum, there was resolution on combating anti-Gypsyism and the inclusion of equal participation of Roma youth, through which the European Youth Forum revolved to address the participation of the Roma, to ensure and support that Roma youth is addressed in both European and national youth policies, and that the equal participation of Roma youth is strengthened. Oops, I need to move once in a while. So that was a very important context. And the last, and also I think it's also very, very important, is the 2023 Council of Europe Committee of Ministers adoption of a recommendation on Roma youth participation, representation and inclusion of Roma in all spheres of the society and decision-making processes, but also a stronger focus on combating structural racism. So this recommendation is one of the few solid tools that we have at the European level that includes priorities related to Roma youth participation in national youth councils and international non-governmental youth organizations, but also any other, more specific priorities on Roma youth. But I think it's very important to understand that even this recommendation re-strengthens or solidifies again the participation of Roma youth in national youth councils and international youth organizations. And of course, a very great opportunity, the Youth Against Antigypsyism project somehow brought all this context together, and Phiren Amenca had the opportunity to conduct another research, so they decided to focus on mapping Roma youth representation in this type of mainstream structures. Now, we tried with this research to be as representative as we could, but of course, the self-selection of the respondents is key. We tried, but of course, this is not a fully representative study. So through this study, we aim to address, to assess actually whether national youth councils involve Roma youth organizations or individuals among their members, if their activities are involving or focusing on Roma youth and Roma youth issues. So we aim to map how much Roma youth are represented in these structures, but also to highlight positive examples and to identify barriers that hinder Roma youth participation. And we try to focus a bit on those countries that have a substantial Roma representation, but also other countries as well. So the geographical focus, it's a bit diverse in this sense. We focused on countries that have shown that they have a focus on Roma youth. For example, the National Youth Council of Albania, North Macedonia, Austria, Spain, Slovakia, UK, and Ireland, but also countries that failed to include Roma youth in these type of structures, like Serbia, Bulgaria, Latvia, and many as such. As a key tool for the research, we have used surveys. And here in this figure, you can see the key targets of our research. So we focus on national youth councils, international youth organizations, but we also wanted to get an insight from Roma youth organizations, like what are their challenges, whether they have tried to be part of this type of structures, whether they succeeded, and so on. So we try a bit to triangulate, to say so. All these type of research subjects. We started the research in April last year, but we tried to conclude, or we closed the surveys in August, early September. And we also tried to reach out to reach out to European Youth Forum members by attending their General Assembly meeting, by sending or including information about our research and about the survey in their newsletters, in their social media groups. But we also contacted these organizations by email, and we tried all sorts of measures, to say so. You can see a bit what type of questions we have used for the research, what we are focusing on. But maybe I can tell you more through the specific findings that we have. So the results, or at least the results in terms of participation in our research, we succeeded to have 10 national youth councils responding to our survey, 6 international non-governmental youth organizations, and we had 10 Roma youth organizations that answered our survey, but we also interviewed some Roma youth organization representatives or experts on the matter. So this is like the foundation for our research. And now if we move a bit more specific into each of the stakeholders, we have the following. So only 6 out of the 41 international non-governmental youth organizations have answered to our survey. And as you can see in this graph, 2 of them, 2 out of 6 have Roma youth as members and are working on Roma youth issues. 2 of them have Roma youth individuals as part of their structures, and they have an interest on focusing on Roma youth. and 2 of them have no Roma youth members, nor do they work on Roma youth-related aspects. So this shows a bit the typology of international non-governmental youth organizations we have and what they are actually focusing on. So the survey, maybe I can be a bit more specific and also maybe thank everyone for participating in this research. The survey has been answered by the Youth Express Network, European Students' Union, the Organizing Bureau of European School Student Unions, the European Democrat Student Union, the European Mid Press, and the Youth of European Nationalities. So based on the answers that we have received from these NGOs, we can kind of say that the presence of Roma youth in such structures is still restricted. However, the profile of the NGO and the key issues they focus on, like minorities, increases the likelihood to have Roma youth members or Roma youth related activities or projects. And I would just like to give an example, a good example, as I said, but I could have chosen any other, but I chose to focus a bit on the youth of European nationalities. So they have in their membership a good Roma youth presence. They operate in 41, they operate in Europe and they have 41 member organizations from 18 countries. And as I said, given the profile of the organization to focus on minorities, YEN has 2 member organizations that work with or are led by young Roma people. YEN also has a diversity and inclusion strategy, which is reflected in their work, since their work aims to include a diverse group of young people in their activities. And if you look more specifically at their activities, YEN has worked with the Vlach Youth Council of North Macedonia and the Association of Citizens Sunal, some sort of seminar on the Roma inclusion strategies. They have also worked with Amalipe and organized a seminar on the topic of minority youth and the European Parliament elections in 2009. And in 2020, they have featured a podcast with the Roma Sinti girl. So I just try to illustrate a bit some of the activities they are doing. And if you are more interested in knowing more about what other organizations are doing, I really encourage you to read our report. And now I'd like to move to the National Youth Councils, because I think this is also a very important component. So out of the 39 National Youth Councils, only 10 have responded to our survey. So these are from Austria, North Macedonia, Slovakia, Ireland, Britain, Latvia, Serbia, Slovenia, Bulgaria, and Spain. Out of them, only 7 have Roma Youth Organization as their members. And here maybe I can make a disclaimer. I felt like those that have Roma Youth Organization as their members were more likely to respond to our survey, but it's just my perception. So there are only 7 national youth councils, as I said, that have Roma youth presence. Then out of these 7, only 4 have a focus on Roma youth. Yeah, so it is not necessarily, doesn't come automatically that if you have Roma members, they're also doing some Roma related work, but only 4 out of these 7 have a focus on Roma youth. Yeah. And then, out of these 9 Roma youth organizations that we have surveyed, only 1 of them is part of a National Youth Council. Maybe we could have done a bit more work in terms of reaching out to Roma youth organizations, but given the time that we had, I think that's still a good representation. what we could find in general, or what are some of the conclusions, is that national youth councils have tried to employ different strategies to be more inclusive towards underrepresented groups and minorities. In some countries, there's no fee for being part of the National Youth Council, or these fees are subsidized, or they are exempted if the organization cannot pay. But also, in addition to this membership fee, some national youth councils have specific recruitment strategies and outreach activities that focus specifically on those groups that are difficult to reach out. Yeah, so I think that's very important, that they don't have just this general call for members, but they really try to reach out to those organizations that, or those groups that they feel that need to be more represented. Maybe the last point here, which also I think is very important, is that only 3 out of the 10 national youth councils have a diversity and inclusion strategy, and this is the British, the Spanish, and the Irish national youth councils. I think this also says a lot. I always say that if you have this type of a strategy, it's already a political statement about who you are as a National Youth Council. And we also could see that all these 3 that have a diversity and inclusion strategy are more open towards the young Roma. Oops, sorry, moving ahead. Okay. When it comes to some of the barriers that we have identified, what is putting some obstacles for Roma youth to participate in the national councils. First of all is the lack of information on opportunities for participation. Like many organizations do not know what you can benefit if you are part of a larger mainstream youth organization, or how you can get involved. So this lack of information, it's filtering, of course, especially in the context of Roma youth organizations, where many of them are very grassroots and do not have like a strong capacity to participate on an equal footing with mainstream youth organizations. The second important barrier is the systemic discrimination Roma youth encounter. And many times this discrimination, it's also reflected in participation-related mechanisms, that many times we know that participation is not genuine or substantive, but just trying to tick the box, for example, that Roma youth are present, but there's not much done to ensure that their contribution is valued and made the most, let's say. Then it's also another barrier is related to the visibility of the youth structures. Maybe it covers a bit the first point that I covered, but it's very difficult or there's no mapping, let's say, let's put it this way. There's no mapping of active Roma youth structures and organizations across Europe. So we were discussing last month with some of you also present here, that maybe this is something some of the stakeholders should take on board, to map Roma youth structures and also come with some sort of a committee or something that can increase their visibility. The fourth barrier, and also very important, is that many national youth councils do not have flexible criteria for membership. And I'm thinking about the Bulgarian example. I think it's almost impossible for a Roma youth organization to become part of the Bulgarian National Youth Council, because you need to have a quite large geographical coverage and a high number of members. So that's very difficult. And the last one is the lack of strategies for reaching out to Roma youth. as I said, there are some good examples. Some national youth councils are targeting Roma youth, but in the remaining national youth council, we see that there is some openness, but there are no proactive steps taken to reach out to Roma youth. This is in sum about the national youth councils, and I would just like to move to the last part on Roma youth organizations. And I just want to thank. I see some of you here that answered our survey, so I want to thank you as well. As I said, we wanted to take inputs from Roma youth organizations to know more a bit about their work, their capacity, especially when it's about joining national youth councils, but also the extent to which they are familiar with the work of a national youth council, and whether they have cooperated with them, whether they have tried to become members, and what are their barriers for becoming members. So a general comment here is that we know that there are few Roma youth international organizations still active at the European level, and this poses significant challenges for Roma youth to become more visible in structures such as the European Youth Forum, for example. But also there is a lack of, actually not a lack, but the number of Roma youth-led organization, it's increasing, which is good. They are starting to get more visibility in the Roma and youth civil society sector, but definitely this has a direct influence on the projects they do, the different activities and advocacy work they do on Roma participation. But in general, what we could see is that Roma youth NGOs have a low capacity to deal with advocacy on Roma youth participation, and many of them don't focus on youth specifically, but they are maybe Roma organizations which have a department on Roma youth. As it's stated here, out of the total number of Roma youth organizations surveyed, only 8 of them are part of international or EU level youth structure or network. This is a good number, as I said, but I think it has to do with the number of Roma youth organizations we have included in our survey. What they told us is that all of them are quite familiar with the work of the National Youth Council in their country. They have heard about their work, but when asked whether the National Youth Council from their country focuses on Roma youth, the responses show that this type of work is not known or it is not so visible. Then there are some examples, but yeah, maybe I can just try to point out. In Slovakia, one of the NGOs stated that they are not aware about the work of the National Youth Council, and another NGO from Slovakia stated that the National Youth Council has tried to include Roma youth voices, but this is not a systemic process, but it's just once in a while. In Romania, I'm from Romania, so I'm a bit maybe more biased. Despite the different platforms and forums from bringing together National Council representatives and Roma youth civil society, there's no Roma youth membership in the council. Then in Bulgaria, Amalipe, one of the most known Roma organizations working with young people, has not been approached by the Youth Council, but none of their beneficiaries was or is part of the National Council, and they are working with a significant number of children and youth. Also in Spain, FAGIC stated that in their view, the Spanish National Youth Council does not focus on Roma youth. But a positive example is in Albania, where the work of the National Youth Council on Roma youth is quite visible, especially because the Albanian National Youth Council in the last years has been awarding some good projects to Roma youth organizations. In terms of recommendations, as I said, we have a large list of recommendations, but I just want to focus on some of them. The first recommendation is to ensure that Roma youth is addressed both in European and national mainstream youth policies, and that the equal participation of Roma youth organizations within the European Youth Forum member structures is strengthened. Engage in a stronger outreach to Roma youth organization and groups and target them for membership. I think it's very important for national youth councils and national organizations to take a proactive role and engage Roma youth. Then design programs and initiatives that address the specific needs and interests of Roma youth. As I said, especially at the European level, we need to make sure that Roma youth are both the target and beneficiaries of diverse youth policies. And then more specifically, one of the recommendations focuses on creating dedicated seats or positions for Roma youth representatives as a way to guarantee their active involvement in views in national and national policy making and decision-making processes. And the last one, and I think this also keeps a bit in focus Roma youth organizations, collaborate with Roma-focused organizations and NGOs to leverage their expertise and resources in promoting the rights and well-being of Roma youth. So I think that's very important to include or make use of the existing expertise of Roma youth organizations when trying to do something for Roma youth. And I think many Roma youth organizations or representatives here would be also very happy to share their expertise with you. To conclude, once again, I think that the findings of our research show maybe a mix of experiences, but the general conclusion is that there's still a need to be included in these structures. As I said, mainstream youth institutions don't target Roma youth specifically, and Roma youth representation and presence in these youth power structures need to be enhanced in order for policymakers to be introduced to specific Roma youth initiatives. I think it's very important to create a space for not only for Roma youth, but also for other disadvantaged, underrepresented youth to have a seat at the table, especially when discussing policies related or affecting them. By lacking a presence in such structures, Roma youth are excluded from shaping national and European initiatives. And as we know, the Roma population is a young one in Europe, so there's a high importance of being more inclusive. Yeah, so this would be my conclusions. I thank you for your attentions, and if you have any questions, I'm here, so please.
Thank you, Simona, for the informative and insightful presentation. And once again, thank you for agreeing to work on this research on behalf of Phiren Amenca. With us, we have in the audience today Maria, who is the president of the board of the European Youth Forum. So I guess before we move to questions and answers, I'll give you the floor, Maria, if you would like to have a few sentences.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Atanas, and thank you also, Simona, for the presentation of this research. Actually, we are very happy that you could use the network of the Youth Forum to conduct this research. And well, I mean, I must say that I also share this reflection that you had, Simona, that most probably only the organizations that are already aware and that already have some sort of Roma youth representation in their organizations actually took part of the consultation. And I think there is still a lot of work to be done. I think this research is actually of great value for us, for the European Youth Forum, and I'm sure this will be also very well appreciated by the international non-governmental youth organizations and the national youth councils. I'm amazed that you have concrete recommendations also for us, but for the national youth councils and the INGYOs, because I think that's really the concrete things that we can take, no, and that will spark the discussion inside us. You mentioned in the research our strategic plan for the last period until 2023. And I must say that just last year, at the end of last year, we adopted our new strategic plan. And here we again have this focus on making our platform more inclusive, actually making all our structures more inclusive. I'm putting here in the chat actually what we say in this regard, that is actually ensuring that our platform is representative of a diverse range of youth voices, and in particular those representing racialized and ethnic minoritized voices within our bodies. And I think that was a very important reflection within the membership of the European Youth Forum, because I mean, honestly, me leading this process, I could feel that there was a genuine interest, and there is a genuine interest of making our structures more diverse. So studies like this that you are conducting and recommendations as the one that you are issuing, I think they are very useful to guide the work of all our members and ourselves. And I think this is also the great value that the cooperation of Phiren Amenca has in our network, and how we benefit from you being our members, but also you from being part of our membership. I think this is a two-way relationship, no? And I'm also very happy that we can create more opportunities as well for you to disseminate your work, to conduct this kind of research, but also from our side to receive more the recommendations that are coming directly from Roma youth, because it really needs to come from you, that the structures of the Youth Forum, our members as well, are more diverse. So I'm happy also to have your voices in focus groups for several researches that we conduct, to give you also some opportunities, to meet, for example, the Commissioner Nicola Schmid, as we had also last year, and I think this is the way forward. Thank you again for this research. Thank you for the recommendations. I'm very sure that we will work on that. I can assure you that already. And also, just before ending, let me also share the apologies of our board member, Natalia Cailio, that is actually working on the social and economic inclusion of young people, because she couldn't join today because of a last minute thing. But yeah, I'm also very happy to be here with you, and I'm aware that also another board member of us, Andrea, is here taking very good note of all the reflections, the conclusions, and to be ready to work on them. So thank you, and let's continue this cooperation.
Thank you, Maria, for the nice words. Indeed, this research wouldn't be possible without the cooperation of the European Youth Forum, and indeed the support that you gave us through the process. We are working for the very same cause, like to make sure that all young people are having their voice and are being heard. I see in the audience today with us staff, members of the board of the Youth Forum. I see the representative, the Roma rapporteur from the Advisory Youth Council of the Council of Europe, representative of FRA, representatives of international youth organizations, Roma individuals and activists, IGLO. Sorry that I don't know all of you, but now I'm opening the floor for any questions or concerns or comments you might want to express with regards to how can we make better the Roma participation in mainstream youth structures, like especially like we wanted to know with this research, how does it work we call them the big 5 countries where the Roma population is like more concentrated, Bulgaria, Romania, Slovakia, Czechia, and Hungary. But also like throughout Europe, we have found very good practices. Simona has identified very good practices. So yes, the floor is yours. Feel free to ask and the floor to let me know if you want to have a question to Simona or to Maria or to me or yes, Sabine Springer from Fundamental Rights Agency. Floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much. I hope you can hear me. Thank you very much for this very interesting presentation. I followed it with great attention. I'm a member of the Roma sector team. We have at FRA a specific sector working with Roma and on Roma issues. We also have a trainee with a Roma background. But I am not only in this sector, I'm also the project manager of a which starts to establish a youth advisory panel. And therefore, it was of extreme interest here. And we are trying to make this, we are in the conception phase, we are trying to make this as diverse and inclusive as possible. And I just wanted to give this information because I might reach out to some of you to get your input on your experiences and how we could really reach our big ambition. Thank you.
Thank you, Sabine. I guess I misspelled your name in the first place. Indeed, congratulations for the initiatives. Indeed, it would be very, very, I think, yeah, nice to have this and to have different youth voices included. Can count on us as an organization, and it's also a news for everybody who is currently watching us and being with us on Zoom today. So we are looking forward for more information and how we can be part of it. I see comments on the chat here on Zoom. Maybe if somebody wants to have the floor. Meanwhile, those of you who are watching us on live, I'll ask my colleagues to see if there are questions as well. Maria, yes.
Yeah, thank you. I had actually one question. When you mentioned that there is no mapping on youth structures, on Roma youth structures, I wonder whether you are actually planning to do this, to map what's out there already. Those organizations that, of course, are members of your network, you know already. But I guess you were referring not to other movements that maybe are more local based or other structures. So are you planning to do this? Because I think that would be extremely useful for us as well.
Simona, you are muted and you don't want to reply to that.
Thank you for the question. I think this is a question that maybe Phiren Amenca can answer. I don't know if they have the capacity to engage in another research, but I know that the OSCE contact point for Sinti and Roma a few years ago has tried to do something similar. I'm not sure what were the outcomes of that engagement, but nowadays in 2024, I think it's important that somebody steps in, and it shouldn't be the work of one organization, but those that are interested in the topic, can come together do it. But I don't know what Phiren Amenca has to say.
Thank you, Simona. Indeed, as every youth network, of course, we are very limited in time and capacity and budget, and we have to find like what is the thing that we want to do every year that would make sense and it's timely. With the research we have done previously in the Roma Youth Voices project, we had this interviewing. Simona interviewed a lot of Roma organizations. Part of them being like community development, education, focusing on health, focusing on various issues, organizations with having small youth structures also, or small activities involving youth. So it is very, very difficult to make the differentiation between what is a Roma organization, an organization that works with Roma, for Roma, but with non-Roma staff, and then also to put like which organization can be considered as Roma youth organization, like how much it has to be done for Roma youth to consider this organization as a Roma youth organization. And given that the civil society space in Europe is shrinking, currently one of the big supporters of Roma is Open Society. Has almost ceased activities. The Roma efforts on Roma are still continuing, but not on Roma youth. Unfortunately, it's a very small chunk. Roma youth are being involved as actors, but the activities are not like designed for Roma youth. Like it's more for community development. It is very difficult for us to do this mapping, and indeed it would be very nice. At the same time, we have as a network partners everywhere, from Portugal to Finland to Greece to like in all the Baltic countries. They were a bit not involved until now. So if a national youth council or an international youth organization is interested in reaching out to one of our partners, we are very happy to provide names and contacts and to make this possible. Yeah. Now I see in the chat Ali has written. Ali, would you like to maybe voice your question here, or shall I read it?
Yes. Hello. So thank you again for this presentation. This has been very insightful. And I was wondering at the Roma organization level, what is the work being done with LGBT Roma youth?
Thank you, Ali. Maybe I'll ask my colleagues who have been involved more with Page Pride to reply.
Hey, we are here. Thank you, Ali, for the question. And in general, in Europe and about our experience, sorry, I'm hearing someone. I can say that in the last, let's say 5-6 years, we have been focusing more and more on intersectionality and working on Roma LGBTQ youth issues, because the need came from our community and community members. We do know a few organizations who work specifically on this topic, and well, what we do as a Phiren Amenca International Network is that we have a strong focus on intersectionality, Roma LGBTQ youth issues, and Roma women's or feminist issues in all of our programming. From recruitment and selection to the actual topics and the workshops we are doing. Of course, in general, on a European and international level, more work needs to be done, but I do think that it's getting better and better. And thank you for the question. It's super important for us.
Thank you for your answer.
Anna. Yes. I'm just looking at the chat. If somebody else wants to ask a question, feel free. Delia, would you like to? I think you. No, sorry for spotting you.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for the presentation. Very informative. I'm also new to this work, so I've just started a position as project lead in a youth organization here in Scotland. So I wonder if Scotland also can be part of now after Brexit in this European mapping. We work mainly with Romanian and Slovakian youth here in south of Glasgow, and I'm particularly curious on how to link being a grassroots organization practically, how to if there's any expertise in the room on how to link us up, and yeah. I'm also finding it quite difficult to get the youth. So I work directly with Roma youth and to engage them in more bigger aspirations rather than just like the particular locality of this place, and give them the possibility of looking beyond and linking with other youth organizations and other Roma youth in other countries. So I'm particularly looking at how to link this and if there's any expertise in the room, but it might be maybe outside of this particular conversation today. And it's also a little bit of an educational space for me. So thank you.
Well, first of all, congratulations and for the new position. And I'm very much connected to Scotland myself. I've been living there quite a lot in St. Andrews, so I know a bit the background. Unfortunately, we all know, that Scotland is not part of the EU anymore, but I'll let Marietta to reply to this.
No, sorry, I didn't want to take the word from Atanas, just maybe to mention one good practice we implemented, and actually it started while the COVID started. And so in 6 countries, we set it up, these national Roma youth platforms. And thanks for that was very, very successful. And actually we started to implement that online because of the pandemic. But then, so the idea of the platform was to bring together everyone who is connected anyhow to Roma youth issues. So especially young Roma themselves from smaller communities, community leaders, civil society organizations, national Roma youth councils, mainstream youth organizations, also those who are like the who are running the Erasmus Plus programs on national level, but also international stakeholders where it was possible. And especially because we found out that there is such a big gap among those actors, and actually it helped a lot. So for instance, after in several countries in the national Roma contact points, they started to involve Roma youth, they started to implement internship programs, or they become employees, members of structures. So many times what we feel is already the platform is missing where to meet and exchange. And then, you know, in many cases, it's like once you bring together the actors, they find out what they want to do and how they want to cooperate. And this is where we could see the role of Phiren Amenca on international level. So this is what we do on international level. So we collect the experiences, the knowledge, the needs from grassroots and national level, bringing it to the European level. And actually thanks for our member organizations, this is what we could do also on national level. And of course, you sometimes just need to kick off. So someone from outside is coming to bring you together. And we found out that helped. And then basically they took it over and they run it without this push from ourselves. So we are pretty much like these kind of ideas. And I think this is something we are looking forward to continue. And I think this also helps a bit of how we not just mapping where Roma youth are participating or not, but also like somehow giving recommendations of where you would need, or also, you know, it's many times like, because we have the connections and the trust, so we can bring actors together. Just wanted to share this because I think these were a very successful initiative in the past years.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Delia, as well. It's going sharing of email addresses in the chat, so that's very nice of you. Probably we can get in touch with you for sure for future opportunities, and we can share directly. Anybody else? Peter, yes, floor is yours.
Hello,
You can present yourself.
my name is Petr Banda. I'm from Advisory Council on Youth, Council of Europe. I want to thank you, Phiren Amenca, for this research, as it's very useful. And my question is actually for the European Youth Forum, and if you can help us to reach out to the national youth councils and share the good practices of national youth councils that include Roma youth to your members. Thank you.
If I may. Yes, no, indeed, and that's something that we are planning to do already. So with this report, we are of course sharing it with our members, and I think they will feel the call with the call for action actually with the recommendations. So also in the report there are the good practices that were explained, but maybe we can also see a way of presenting the good practices that can be actually transferred to other councils. And I think this report will actually be a good point for sparking the interest. So for sure we will share it. For sure we will share the recommendations as well. And we will encourage the rest of the members of the Youth Forum to keep in touch with Phiren Amenca. They are also in touch in regular statutory meetings of the Youth Forum or other spaces, but yet to encourage them to be more active and proactive in tackling this topic. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria and Peter. We are looking forward to that. Anybody else from the audience or from Facebook, whoever is watching us online, my colleagues, please signalize if there are questions. And if not, then we can always continue this discussion. No questions from Facebook. Okay. So thank you all for your time, for your interest. Indeed, there is a lot to be still done for achieving an equal participation for Roma youth in general in Europe. And we will definitely continue focusing on this together with the European Youth Forum, together with partners, allies, together with you. I also see national Roma youth organizations here present. Indeed, Roma are not part of the EU youth strategy until 2027. Roma are not part of the national consultation processes. So there is a lot to be achieved, but I believe that we are on the good path, on the path of communication, collaboration, research, advocacy, and most of all, we together make sure that young Roma have venues to participate and to raise their voices. That note, thank you. And you can find the full research that was just presented on the website of Phiren Amenca, and it was also shared under this very live on Facebook. Thank you and have a nice afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone.
Thank